Landlords in North Carolina can breathe easier as a state representative has proposed a bill that would make it so landlords would never be required to accept Section 8 tenants, and they can recover attorney fees for when tenants appeal their evictions. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have quite the interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of North Carolina. So obviously, North Carolina is in one of those states that, it is one of those states where landlords are treated with more respect. So we have a state representative up there who has proposed this bill that would make it so that landlords couldn't be required to accept Section 8 tenants. Now, I like this sort of legislation. I like it, written into law that, hey, this program is voluntary, and little cities and jurisdictions within the state, they can't decide that, oh, all of a sudden we're going to force this down landlords' throats. No, we're going to pass this statewide law that trumps all of the local ordinances and says, hey, this program is voluntary. If landlords don't want to participate, they don't have to. Now, the law also, this proposed law also goes as far as making it harder for tenants with their fake service animals to be able to get into someone's unit. So if you're a landlord who doesn't want to accept pets, a lot of these tenants, what they'll do is they'll bring up these fake service animal certifications, right? And right now there isn't a lot that landlords can do about it because we can't call into question whether these documents are legal or not. But what they're trying to do is make it so that, hey, landlords have some way to fight that. Also, they're making it so that landlords can recover attorney fees when a tenant appeals their eviction case. So yeah, this in my opinion, it is a good thing that, hey, you know what, landlords should be able to recover those attorney fees because we're putting a lot of our personal money into paying lawyers to file these evictions in the first case. Whereas a lot of the tenants, what they're doing is they're getting free legal representation. And, that just isn't fair. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Now, one of the comments that I read recently was that, hey, it seems like there's never any pro-landlord legislation. There's never, we never read about pro-landlord legislation. Well, that's what this video is about today, okay? Finally, we're seeing some legislation that benefits landlords. Now, I know this is just in one state in North Carolina, but there are instances where we do have some politicians in different states throughout the country who actually believe in property rights, who actually believe that landlords are not bad people, who don't want to just stick it to us and understand that, hey, rent control doesn't work. Hey, these super strong eviction protections, they actually make things worse. And all of the regulations, all these rules that tread on landlords' property rights, well, they're only going to make housing less affordable. So, I'm just wondering if anyone else has seen other pro-landlord legislation. Maybe I can bring it up in a future video. But anyway, let me get into this article. This article is coming from Winston-Salem JournalNow.com, and it says, Landlord bill would limit tenants' rights and hurt people who have service animals, Winston-Salem group says. And the article has a little video that comes with it, and it's basically a bunch of tenants' rights people complaining. But I'll play part of that video for you right now.
Now, Hall disagrees with the way that the group characterizes the bill's provisions. He said the awarding of attorney fees to a landlord can only happen if the landlord wins his case. He said the provision that prevents a city from forcing landlords to accept subsidized housing vouchers would still allow Winston-Salem and other cities to make accepting the vouchers a condition for getting city assistance on projects. Hall said the service animal provision is meant to eliminate fraud.
All right, you saw the video. Let's get into the article. A local tenants' rights group is protesting a bill that it says would hurt poor people and those who have service animals to help them. House Bill 551 would allow landlords to recover attorney costs from tenants who appeal an eviction and would prevent cities and counties from requiring that landlords take federal low-income housing vouchers except in defined situations. The bill would allow landlords to require people who have service or support animals to prove disability in some cases, and provides for fines in cases where a landlord prevails in court on a contested service animal case. And, this is a big issue for some landlords, okay? The landlords who do not want to accept pets in their property, the tenants are trying to find some way to work around it. And so you can go online and get one of these things that says, oh, this is my emotional support. This bill weakens local government's ability to protect their residents and prohibits cities from implementing policies that address the housing crisis, said Paula Traffus, speaking for the local group Housing Justice Now. Members of the local tenants' right group held a news conference on Tuesday inside the Forsyth County Government Center. They appealed for the constituents of Representative Kyle Hall, Republican of Stokes, to contact him and persuade him to drop the legislation. Hall said changes were made to the bill, but he defended it from the group's accusations. The House approved it Thursday by an 87 to 26 margin on its second reading. 68 Republicans and 19 Democrats voted in favor of the bill, while 26 Democrats and no Republicans were in opposition. A voice vote sent the bill to the Senate, where it awaits further action. So it sounds like it was approved, by a bipartisan consensus, overwhelming majority. 87 to 26 wasn't even close, okay? And these are smart things. They're not going to hurt the tenants in any way. Already, the program, Section 8 program, was supposed to be voluntary from the get-go. And what's happening is you have a lot of these far left-leaning people who are trying to say, oh, well, this is a source of income discrimination. No, it's not. It never was before, and then suddenly now it is. Well, the problem is that there's so many issues with the Section 8 program. I've covered this in many different videos, and they actually have someone who talks about the Section 8 program in this article. And it's kind of interesting because this person brings up the very same issues that I'm always talking about and that so many of the people who watch my videos mention in the comments, right? And so what I'll do is I'll skip down a little bit, right? And see if I can find this little part about what they think of Section 8. Most landlords in Winston-Salem are already under no requirement to accept federal Section 8 housing vouchers in payment, although landlords who do get financial assistance from the city have to provide affordable housing and can't discriminate against someone using the federal housing voucher. HB 551 prevents cities and counties from requiring all landlords to accept federal vouchers, but exceptions written into the bill would allow Winston-Salem and other places to continue to impose that requirement as it does in cases where the developer gets city aid. Yeah, and I can understand that, okay? You're getting money from the city, you have to play by the city's rules. So guess what? You have to take Section 8 vouchers, whether you want to or not. Now, if you don't want to take their vouchers, don't take the government's money. It's pretty simple, okay? But let me see what it says here. It says, oh, well, here is what the tenant right advocate thinks of this provision. Phil Carter, one of the Housing Justice Now members, speaking on Tuesday, called HB 551 a bill that is intended to eradicate fair housing. Every jurisdiction has laws to ensure housing is fair, he said. This is not a bill to help the citizens. This is a bill to help the greedy, those who are already wealthy, those that are already bringing demise and destruction to the lives of those who depend on them for shelter. So yeah, the guy, he goes on with, once again, he's going with the misconception that all landlords are wealthy. Well, I want you to think about this scenario here. First of all, the grand majority of landlords, the overwhelming majority, only own one property, okay? And it's usually a single family home, okay? The largest number of landlords out there are landlords with one property that is a single family home. In many cases, it's the home they used to live in, but rather than sell it, they turned it into a rental. Now, you're telling all of those mom and pop landlords, well, you're wealthy and you're greedy for not wanting to take Section 8. That's garbage, okay? A lot of these people, they are middle class. Some of them are even lower class, lower income people who happen to have one additional house. So, let's talk about somebody who inherited a home from a relative that passed away. And rather than selling it, they said, oh, I'm going to turn it into a rental. And the house isn't in a great part of town. It's not worth millions of dollars. It might be worth $100,000. It might be a shack, but they said, hey, I'm going to rent it out. Guess what? You're part of the greedy landlord group now. And you're like, well, I don't want to take Section 8 because then they're going to require me to jump through all these hoops. Well, screw you. That's what they're telling the small landlords. That's why I say I stand up a lot for small landlords, because I realize that there are so many people out there who are landlords. They don't consider themselves landlords. They just kind of say, hey, I've got myself a second home. But you know what? The law, the public, the politicians, they see you the same as they see that giant corporation with $10 billion in assets, okay? And they will screw you over because of that. Hall said there are many reasons why a private owner may choose not to participate in the Housing Choice Voucher Program, including cumbersome paperwork restrictions, repetitive unit inspections, residential eligibility certification, and other regulatory paperwork. Hall went on to say the bureaucratic requirements of the program add expense to the operation of apartment housing and can contribute to the housing affordability issues we are facing across the state. And yeah, he brought up every single point that I'm always mentioning. Okay, he said cumbersome program restrictions, repetitive inspections, eligibility certifications for the tenants, and regulatory paperwork. Not to mention a lot of the tenants are just they have a voucher, but they are garbage tenants on top of that, right? And you don't want to put a garbage tenant in your place just because the government is guaranteeing the money, because you could still be out tens of thousands of dollars in damages, etc. So yeah, I mean, the problems with this program are huge, and they are rightfully saying, hey, if you don't want to participate, you shouldn't have to. Now, the other provisions in there about, fighting against, giving landlords a way to fight against having support animals in their place if they don't want them, that's a good thing, okay? And I've been talking about that for a while too. It isn't right that these tenants are able to just go online and print off a little fake form and then turn a peacock or you know a ostrich into a service animal. If you don't want that thing on your property, then you should not be forced to take it. And I want to see a doctor's note from a psychiatrist or something saying that you need that. Otherwise, get that stuff out of here. Okay. Now, the other good thing they mentioned there was being able to recover attorney fees for appeals to eviction cases. Remember, most eviction cases, like 95% of eviction cases, are for non-payment of rent. There's nothing to fight. You didn't pay the rent, you need to go. So when they appeal those cases, right, the only thing they're trying to do is drag out the amount of time that they have to stay in the property to hopefully be able to find somewhere else to live or whatever. But the landlord needs their property back. It shouldn't be on the landlord to provide you with free housing while you look for somewhere else to live. That's your problem, not ours. Okay. So pro-landlord legislation is being proposed in North Carolina. It looks like it's going to pass, and sounds like a good thing. I'd like to see some of these laws in a lot of the states where I invest.